Aloha and welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of That Time I Got Arrested. So this is the darkest episode that we've had to date, and it was weird to record, and it's definitely going to make you feel some type of way. And I just want you to know that I'm here for you, and I love you, and I'm okay, and you're going to be okay, and everything's fine. Everything's fine. I mean, like, it's not, but like, it's fine. We're going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like, the world's going to end. The sun's going to explode. Like, we're just molecules. And honestly, everything is fine. This dimension is like one out of infinite experiences that are all happening simultaneously, and you're just a vessel for a soul that's trying to evolve into becoming a god. So, look, we're all in this together, quite literally and physically. We're all in this together, and you're my friend, and I love you, and it's going to be okay. So just remember everything I just said and hang on, because this is, well, I don't know what to say. Just like awkward movements and phrases. Hi. Love you. Love you. You know where I am, right? You know all that stuff, right? I love you. My name is B. Casper, and my entire life has been a lie. That's not even my real name. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you all of my secrets. This isn't the story of how I became an orphan. This isn't the story about how I jumped off a 5-story building and survived. This isn't about how I died and came back funny. This is that time I got arrested. There was this bus, and it came at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we lined up to get on it, and I couldn't wait. It was going to be the best day I've had thus far because I get to breathe fresh air for the first time, and everything else that was happening didn't matter because the only thing that mattered was that air and my lungs and face that I was going to suck it through. So I snuck a book with me and 2 oranges, and I sat next to this girl named Sincere, and she would later be my roommate. But we sat together and we talked and learned about each other's lives the whole 3-hour ride, and I was like feeling as close to good as I had felt maybe since I turned myself in, just to have a change of pace and to be outside and to speak to another person that could, connect with me on some kind of level. Then you get there. You start to get processed all over again. So you're basically starting fresh in the processing department. But when you get processed for a prison stay as opposed to a county jail stay, it's like very lengthy and much more involved. So it actually takes a week, and you're locked in a cell by yourself for a week for the entire time, unless you're seeing a doctor or a counselor or someone that is screening you through this like head to toe analysis of, who you are. And they're really trying to determine what prison they're going to send you to. So all of these like experiments and tests kind of like matter. And it's weird because you hear all these different things, but it's not like any of the staff members are giving you a rundown of what's actually happening. Everything that you hear is like gossip and hearsay. And I'm with a bunch of people who are either very old and, sort of like done something like a little bit stranger to end up in that situation, like Kim, who, ran a fake rehab center, like something strange like that. And she was like, in her late 40s. Or it was a lot of girls who had something to do with drugs, like me, or some kind of violent offense, but I would say 99.9% of them were all on hard drugs, and they were all prostitutes at some point in their life. So I was going into that situation coming from a completely different world, and they were going into that situation having been recycled through this government machine that consistently took advantage of them. But I was going in there about to get taken advantage of for the first time in this kind of a way. So it's this week-long screening process, and you're seeing like a psychiatrist, and you're seeing like a gynecologist, and you're seeing like a doctor that's going to check your lungs and heart, and you're seeing a dentist, and literally just every single part of you. Because if something's like fucked up and it could lead to your death, they do have to address it in like the most menial way possible. So they can do the bare minimum, but they do have to fucking take care of that shit. I mean, technically, that's what they're paid to do. Is that what they're actually doing? No. No, it's like they don't care if you die, but like they have to go through the motions, you know? It's sort of like fucked up and weird to like meet all of these people that have a file on you, and it's all of the stuff that you came into prison with. It's all of your charges. They basically have you in a manila envelope. You know, they like look at who you are and like what you're there for and the type of person you are, and they sort of like guess how much they can take from you at that point. And I mean, you don't work in a prison. You don't work in a maximum security women's prison because like you think that's a fun job. You know what I mean? Those people that work there, they're fucking psychopaths. They're working there because they like the power and they like the control, and they're sick people, and like they probably belong in jail. But instead of going to jail, they work in a jail where there are no rules for them, and they can do whatever they want all the time. And everyone around them, even if they're not participating, it's a culture of like protection, just like cops protect each other, like prison employees protect each other because they all have some stake in their jobs, you know, together. So it's like if something fucked up happens, they want to keep it under wraps, you know, even though they didn't do a good job at this prison doing that because they were out of control. They were out of control. The stuff they did was so crazy and weird and sick and evil. And that prison is shut down now because of how fucking fucked up and evil it was. And I was there the last year before it got shut down. So yay me, you know? Was this supposed to happen to me? I don't know. I mean, like, so I could tell people, like, does this matter? A girl in New Zealand contacted me today and told me that she listened to the podcast. New Zealand! Does this matter in New Zealand? Fuck. So I went to see a gynecologist, and it was a guy, and he was like 40s, Jewish. He looked like somebody's dad. He had balding brown hair and glasses. And you guys watch Seinfeld. So not George Costanza's character, like not Jason Alexander, but remember that episode in Seinfeld where Elaine makes like the bizarro world friends of like all three of them, of Kramer, Jerry, and George. And remember the guy who plays the bizarro world version of George? That's what this doctor looked like. For real. And he like spoke to me really kindly and almost like flirtatiously. He complimented me a bunch as soon as I like walked in, and I'm wearing like a prison uniform, okay? Like, I'm on drugs. I don't look cute. I haven't like had like conditioner in my hair for 3, almost 4 months now. I don't look cute. I haven't like I'm not cute right now. You guys know that I'm cute when I'm cute. Right now, I'm not cute. Okay. So I walk in, he starts complimenting me. He's like talking to me like I'm his friend. And he's basically like, okay, now take all your clothes off. And he's a doctor and I'm in prison and I have to do these exams so I can get out of the cell that I'm locked in all day long by myself. So I take all my clothes off because that's what you do in that situation, right? Why wouldn't I take my clothes off? Why wouldn't I take all of my clothes off when a doctor tells me to? So I took all my clothes off and I laid down and had that little like paper napkin on my body. And it's like, this is weird to talk about. It's weird to talk about because never told anyone any of this, but so I like lay down with this paper napkin and he starts doing an exam, and his exam feels like my first time getting felt up when I was like 15, 16 maybe. I was late bloomer, like sexually with like men especially. I was like not promiscuous when I was younger at all, and not with guys at least. And I fucking was like, this is immediately, I was like, this feels weird. I'm like, this feels sexual. It felt sexual. It didn't feel like a breast exam, and I've had breast exams before and I've been felt up before, so I pretty much have a good idea of what the difference is. And I like sort of like tensed up, and I didn't really know what to say or do. I didn't really understand what was going on at that point. It was just kind of like, okay, like this is weird. Like, is this normal? Like, are you being weird? Am I being weird? Am I just like haven't been touched in so long that I can't even handle a fucking breast exam doctor's appointment right now? Like, this guy is like nice to you. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But it turns out he was actually being the weird one. And he like started complimenting my boobs and telling me how great they looked. And I was just kind of like taken aback. Like, I had mouthed off already and felt some really extreme consequences. And I had been spending the last 3 months being told to shut the fuck up every single day. So there was like an effect of that on me where normally, I mean, you guys, like, you know me, right? Like, you know, normally I would be like, what the fuck? You know, like, I'm definitely not afraid to say what the fuck when I like feel that way in that situation. But in that situation with that doctor, while he was grabbing me and like groping me, I was just kind of like, fuck, you know, what the fuck? It was more like that, you know? And he told me to relax, and he said that I was beautiful, and he said that I didn't belong there. And he said that it was so sad that I was in that situation, and that, he's saying all of this with his hands on my tits, by the way. He's saying that it's so sad that I'm in that situation and how I have to spend like a minute locked inside. It was very weird to be complimented like that and have this guy, this older guy, like grab me like that, where it was very unwanted, but it was very confusing. And I felt like sort of afraid, but also like I wanted to kill him, and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't want to be in that situation, but I also just felt like, what the fuck? Like, I just felt very, you know, confused and sort of like I didn't know what was going to be coming next, and I didn't know if I was going to be fucking in a worse situation in a minute. So I just sort of like laid there, and I was tense, and I had my arms up, and he was pulling them down, and he was telling me to relax, that I needed to relax. And I was like, is this the exam? And he said, yes. And then he like got up and he like put his gloves on, and he told me to put my butt at the end of the little table and to put my legs in the stirrups. And I was like, I'm like, I don't think I want to like do that. And he said that if I didn't, that I would be quarantined. And if he didn't finish his exam, that I would be quarantined and that I would be stuck in that cell for maybe 2 more weeks. And I was like, no, I cannot stay inside. And I don't want to make any trouble right now. I just want to get through this and I want it to be over. And I'm like, maybe he's a creep and I fucking don't know what else to do. So I sit on the end of that table and I slide my butt down to the end and I put my legs in these stirrups, and I was like, just kind of like not really saying anything, but making sounds and like making it clear that I felt uncomfortable and like nervous. And he was just telling me to relax, and that basically like making me like, oh, this is all in your head. Like I'm giving you an exam now, when he was just a second ago being fucking super inappropriate and like fucked up. So, he took out a Speculum, which I know ladies, where my ladies at? You know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Do you not shiver with fear whenever you see anyone with a Speculum, let alone some like creepy dude, right? So at this moment, I was like, oh, I want to die. I want to die right now. I'm like, this is going to be painful and weird. I put my feet up in the stirrups, and he put that thing inside me, which is basically, all you men, in case you were wondering what a speculum was, it basically like opens you up so they can like check out your cervix and like all your shit going on inside of you. Fun. Yay. Now you know. So he stuck this thing inside me, and I was like, ow. Because I like haven't had sex with a ton of dudes, and that thing was probably like a little bit bigger than was comfortable or like felt good. And I think like a lot of ladies feel like that, especially because it's just like a weird metal object that isn't like very like soft or forgiving, stuck inside of you. And when you're like a smaller girl with like smaller parts, like that can feel pretty unpleasant and uncomfortable. He stuck this thing inside me, and I was like, ow. And he said, oh, you haven't had a lot of sex, have you? And I was like, fuck, I'm like, you're already just like, I don't even fucking know what to say. So I'm not saying anything. I'm just like, dude, I'm just like making noises and like, oh my God. And I just want him to understand that like, I understand how fucked up he's being, because I feel like this guy has probably been getting away with this behavior and way worse over and over and over and over again. He just said, you need to calm down, or I'm going to have to get an officer in here to hold you down while I finish my exam. And I was kind of like, oh, great, great. I definitely see where the power is. Like, cool. I will shut the fuck up because I want this over. So he did his exam, or whatever you want to call whatever the fuck he was doing. And he pulled that thing out of me and like started saying really disgusting, weird things to me about my body and anatomy that was not something I had ever heard anyone say to me before. And it was gross, suggestive. And while he was doing this, he had his fingers inside of me, and he was rubbing his hands against my clit, and he was trying to get me to come, and he was telling me that he could tell that I liked it and that I needed it, and that's what he was there for. I was livid. I mean, I don't think that would have been unsexy if that was someone that I was like fucking. I mean, hopefully a guy I'm fucking isn't giving me like gynecological exam, but it's just like the stuff he was saying wasn't what was gross. Like if I was fucking, that stuff would have been like, yeah. But because it was like this weird, creepy, older doctor guy in a prison that I had never met before that was completely taking advantage of me and every single girl that he saw, it was so disgusting, but it was weird to be in that situation, to not having been touched, to being in a circumstance with someone where they're like manipulating you by turning you on, where they're manipulating you by like stimulating your sex organs. Like that's like such a different kind of like fucking fucked up manipulation. That's like what you do to like prep someone before they get raped. That's what you do to like prep someone to like go into like sex slavery. That's how like pimps get prostitutes to fuck guys all day long and give them the money for it. Like that's that kind of behavior. And so it was fucked up to be in that situation and like fucking, I've read Lolita, you know, like I know what's going on. I like know that I'm being manipulated. I know that I'm being violated, and I know that everything that's happening is beyond fucked up. But I'm sitting there on this table with this doctor and he's making me come, and I'm in agony because that is the worst way to experience that feeling, because that is really like, that's really robbing you of your, I mean, fucking consent. Like what is consent at that point? You know what I mean? Like that is such a thing that will like ruin you mentally. It will ruin you emotionally. It will make you incapable of ever being able to enjoy anything ever again. So it gets worse, but I almost feel like that was like the worst thing that happened, because that like, oh man, like that was like weird. That was like a weird way to get initiated into all of the fucked up shit that was about to come. And I didn't know what was next, but like that was like my first experience where like I was alone with a man in a room in prison, and he had power over me and he could do whatever he wanted, and I had to be compliant whether I liked it or not. So it's like I didn't want to sit on his fucking doctor's table and like have an orgasm. That's not what I wanted out of that situation, but that's what he forced me to do because that's what he wanted. And that was just the beginning of like nothing that I want, nothing of who I am, nothing about me matters anymore. I'm not a person anymore. I am a body. I'm a body, and I'm fucking 23, 24 years old. You know, I had been doing a bunch of yoga before. I like for like a couple of years I had been like a vegan right up to leading up into going into jail. I had been like smoking a lot of cigarettes and not eating a bunch. So like when I got to prison, when I got to Cook County, I was like probably in like the best shape of my life. And then while I was in Cook County, I like lost 10 pounds because I wasn't eating and I was just doing a lot of drugs all day long. So I get to Dwight prison 10 pounds underweight of like the best shape of my life. The girls told me that my body was tight. Like, not like, oh, that's tight, like that's cool, but like your body's like tight like a stripper, you know? And one girl was like, you could strip if you wanted to. And I was like, wow, thanks. That's so nice. But what that really meant was that my body is currency, and I was a target because I was like young and I was cute, gross, but at my grossest, fuck, it's so fucked up. Later on, in a weird, like, how fucked up my headspace got later was that I would like miss this doctor that I never saw again, because it was like he was like the only person, and I can see how, like, looking in on that situation, like, to a psychopath, like, he thinks he's almost like a good guy because he's not like brutalizing you, and he's trying to, like, I don't know, like, in some weird way, like, pleasure you, you know what I mean? Because, like, I didn't do anything to him, but, like, he was, like, trying to, like, pleasure me, and, like, he was getting off on it in some way. But, like, later on, it wasn't like that. I mean, it was just, you're just a, fuck, what do you even call that? I mean, like, meat. You're just meat. You are just a piece of meat to them. And prison guards are about 90% male in a women's prison. 90% male. Maybe even 95% male. They're mostly dudes. And if you, like, get caught fucking around with an inmate and you're a prison guard, the worst thing that happens to you is you get put on outside detail for like 3 to 6 months, which just means you, like, sit in a tower and, like, jerk off and, like, smoke cigarettes all day. And then you get rotated back in 6 months. And that's it. That's it. I mean, like, you fucking would not get fired for raping some girl. You don't get fired for getting her pregnant. You don't get fired for anything like that. No, you'll get fired for being late before you get fired for raping someone. They have, like, your file or whatever. They, like, know what you're in for. They know your history. They can read your like, doctor and medical reports, so they could read all of the stuff that my psychiatrist wrote about me that I came into prison with. And so they all knew that I had been raped when I was a kid. And that week that we were in lockdown trying to get cleared medically, they would let us out to take a group shower with a bunch of other girls. And basically the showers is where all of the rapes would happen, because that was the place where there were no cameras. That's what happens in women's prisons. It's not like don't drop the soap. It's like take a shower and get raped. Or don't shower, which was definitely an option that I elected to take plenty of times. Who needs to shower, really? So the first time that I got taken into the showers, it was a group shower, and the guards told us that we all had something in common, and that's why they picked us to go together. And I kind of like looked around, and they were all girls that they look like me. They were all my age. They all had my body type. A lot of them were Latina, or they had like long hair, or it was like two like white girls, but all of us had long hair. Oddly enough. And I guess we had all been raped as children, and they told us that, and that's why we were all going to be in there together. And so then they told us to get on our knees. Then they all jerked off onto our faces, and then they told us to wash it off. So they watched us wash off all of the cum that they jerked off on us. I feel like I said that weird. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to like say that? It's so sick. It's like so fucked up. And like the other girls, like there was like a weird manipulative element to all of this. And you could be on one of two sides, and like this is how police officers like treat women. This is how like the really insidious, corrupt parts of like the prison complex and like the police complex like work together to do this, is because you can play ball and you can benefit from it, or you can You know what I mean? Resist and they will fuck you up. So it's like one of two. And it's like, how long does it take to break you? Because everybody breaks. Everybody breaks. I broke. Every single person breaks because they break you and they're better at it than you and they have more resources than you do. And like I said, I mean, they all take away everything. You can't call people. You can't see people. You can't fucking eat. You can't get mail. Like, they will take away everything and they don't have to explain anything to anyone because you're an adult and you're in prison and that's the law. So that's it. That's it. That's it. So some of the girls that were in this same shower with me that first time, like, acted like they liked it and they acted like they were turned on and like it was a show for these guards. And those girls got special privileges. They could smoke cigarettes, they could eat real food, they could get out of their cell, they could take drugs, they could basically do whatever the fuck they wanted to do as long as they played along and pretended like everything was fucking chill. I definitely did not get the fucking memo, and I was still like stuck up and white and privileged enough at this point to be like, what the fuck is going on? You know, like, I cried and I refused and I just made a fucking scene and I was upset and I demanded to speak to somebody, you know, like, what the fuck, where's the manager at now? There isn't one. They're the boss. They're the guards. They're in control. They just threw me in my cell, and when I continued to scream and cry, they put me in solitaire for one whole day. And solitaire and being in a cell by yourself for 24 hours a day is a big fucking difference. Let me explain why. In my cell, at the very minimum, I have underwear and pants and a shirt and a bra and socks and a blanket and a book. So like, I've got all of those things in my cell, but when I'm in solitaire, I have no underwear, no socks, no pants, no shirt, no blanket, no book. So I'm naked and I'm alone in a room. And that's what happened when I freaked out because these guys jacked off onto my face. This episode is embarrassing. Jeez, like, I shouldn't be fucking embarrassed about this, but like, I'm embarrassed to like, I've like never told anyone this because it's embarrassing. This is embarrassing. This sucks. This like, is why I don't want to greet the day. This is just what makes women feel worthless. This is why I don't like when men are mean to women, even in like the smallest and most insignificant ways. Even if you like know a girl that likes you and she comes over to your house and she like wants to blow you. And so you let her and then you come and then she leaves. Like, you are being fucked up. Yes, you, the dude in that situation, because that girl doesn't understand why she wants to come over and suck your dick, because she doesn't actually want to come over and suck your dick. What she actually wants to do is come over and have you tell her that you like her and that she's worthy and that she matters to you. And she doesn't know how to say that to you instead. So instead, she comes over and she sucks your dick and she thinks, oh, maybe he likes me. Maybe I'm worthy. Maybe I matter now. And that's like this fucked up manipulation that men are consistently feeding into on small and large parts. I mean, large, like all of the fucking violent, fucked up rape that happens in prison, and small, like fucking comics, like just comics in general, you know, just like the way comedians are and the way comedians treat women and like just are who the fuck they are as people, you know? So I did solitaire for one day and then I was like, okay, this can get worse. I see that now. I'm ready to shut up. And that wasn't the first time I would like go in and out of that situation, but I definitely understood that I understood that I didn't understand and that everything was different and that I was going to have to survive. And that's all that it would come down to, is just me surviving and me trying to persevere and make it from one day to the next. And man, this shit broke me so hard in so many different ways. And it's so hard to be a human being again after. And it's like, why do I care about labels? And like, why do I care about like anything really? You know? And it's just, everything is designed to make you feel like you're nothing. But then there is something inside me that is telling me that that's not true. You know, and like, I don't really know what that is, where that comes from, but like that does exist somewhere deep, deep, deep in me. So, okay. So that first time in the shower was important for me because it was like a lesson in protocol, and it was a lesson in behavior. And this is about to get very like handmaiden-y, because basically all that happened for the rest of the time that I was there is I would just get raped by the prison guards. Whether it would be like weekly or daily, kind of like depended on, you know, how they were feeling, whose shift it was, you know, what I looked like. I asked to be taken off all of the medicine that I came in there on, that I told them that I was on while I was in Cook County, because they were going to keep me at Dwight. And I had heard that there was less rape at the minimum security prison. So I was trying to get out of there. There were a lot of suicides while I was there. Girls would just throw themselves over the railings of these like high fucking floors. It was like a hotel with like the atrium in the middle. That's what the big concrete jail cell buildings would be like. There'd be 4 stories, and girls would throw themselves over the 4th floor so that they could stop getting raped, and so they could go to a hospital, so they could get out. I didn't do that. You know, I wasn't there yet, but I did ask to be taken off all of those meds because I wanted to get out, and I knew that that was a way to get me into a minimum security prison, because I couldn't do that while I was taking all of those heavy psychotic medications. So I was detoxing from that, and I stopped buying all of the other pills, like the illegal pills as well. And I started buying food instead. And I would buy like brownies and cupcakes and chips and soda, and I would buy all of this stuff on commissary, and I would just sit in my cell all day long. And now I'm not like reading or writing anymore. Now all I would do is fucking eat, and I would eat and I would eat and I would eat. And I like very quickly, like sedentary lifestyle and like all that junk food, I like gained weight like really quickly. And what I noticed was I would just like get fucked less often by the guards, like the more weight that I gained. So I kind of like went through this realization and this like cycle of I would like eat until I threw up, and I would just like eat and eat and eat. And every time I would get raped, I would like go back to my cell afterwards, and I would just like stuff my face with food until I couldn't like taste it anymore, until I couldn't feel like my tongue, because it would be so scraped up from like potato chips and cookies and just like stale fucking garbage. And my stepmother was sending me $100 a week, so I was buying like $100 a week worth of junk food, and every day just stuffing my face over and over again. So I was really like harming myself in the only way that I could. So there was this one guard who was like into me on a personal level. I didn't want to be in any of these situations, and it is kind of like Stockholm syndrome, where you eventually start to just like try at the very least to like play along to like make it like less terrible for you. You know, it's just, like I said, it's just survival at this point. You have no idea like what it feels like to be in that situation for the first time, because I'm with a bunch of girls who are very keen at manipulating men and getting what they want and treating their bodies like some sort of machine, you know what I mean, that is designed for them to like use as a tool to manipulate men, where like I didn't feel that way about my body, and I don't feel that way about like myself as like a person. Like I don't feel like I'm a tool, you know, to manipulate somebody into getting what I want. I don't like that dynamic and that exchange. So it kind of like goes against like who I am, my core, you know? So it was like, I would sort of like resent these other girls for being, you know, better at this, and for, I don't know, like not taking it as hard as I did, because I had a really hard time with it. I just fucking hated it. I hated it all the time. And I didn't like that like game. So this guy, this guard, was like, yeah, I don't like this either. And you're special and like you're different. And let's just like play chess and like talk. When I would like play chess and talk with him, I like wasn't getting raped. So yeah, that was like better to me. That was like seemingly more advantageous. So I would play chess and I would always beat him, and he would just laugh and tell me, you know, how smart and great I was, and that someday he was going to beat me. And that's why we were going to play. We were going to play until he beat me. And sometimes he would take me out of my cell during like lockdown in the middle of the night if he was like working an overnight shift, and he would sit there with me and he would give me pizza and he would play chess with me and he would talk to me about, you know, his life and my life. And he almost seemed like he was trying to like the vibe that I got was definitely like, oh, like I'm like trying to like date you. Like I've been on dates before where I felt like the same about the way the guy would like talk and act and like just sort of like be. But he, like I said, he was like nicer because he didn't like rape me right away. He didn't rape me right away. He like got to know me really well and then he raped me. It was super violent. One night he tried to kiss me and I was still not into understanding about playing the game. So instead of kissing him back, I like made a face and like turned my head because I was grossed out, because I didn't want to kiss him, because I didn't want to kiss anyone, because I wasn't trying to kiss people while I was in prison. He hit me. He hit me because I made that face. And I could kind of see now that like none of all of that was real, and it was just this game. And I already knew that I was like powerless in the situation. So my lip was bleeding and I didn't even fight it at this point. Because I just knew, I knew it was over and I knew what was coming. But I think that he was upset that it had sort of gotten to that point where he was like, I've given you everything, right? Now why won't you give me this like willingly? Because I didn't like give it to him willingly. Now he was angry and he was going to take it out on me. He raped me and he beat me up, basically. I mean, he hit me while he was fucking me. I got taken back to my room and I had bruises all over my body. And I like spit blood into the sink, and I just like looked at myself in the mirror and thought, well, good luck ever enjoying sex again. Yeah, I mean, I just thought all the things that you think in that situation where you're like, is this real? What did I do to deserve this? Why did this happen? What am I going to do now? Everything hurts. I wish I'm dead. And just something that you spend every day trying to forget. I'm like super jumpy now. Super jumpy, like if someone walks into a room behind me and I don't see them, I gasp like really loudly, like obnoxiously. Like you think that I'm like being dramatic, but I think it's just from getting like jumped and like raped like so many times that like if I see someone without seeing them first, like if I see them come up on me without seeing them first, my response is because it's just like PTSD fear. It's like those are my gunshots, you know? It's like someone coming up behind me. Like that's what a gunshot sounds like to me. Like that's what it feels like. I spend pretty much every day in my cell sobbing, and I was like becoming like a problem, and they could tell that I was, you know, someone that they were going to have to like quiet down, and like take care of, because you could file a complaint. And it was a piece of paper that ended up in a box that went to a room that was completely dark. And that's it. That's what happened to your complaints. And you could call someone and you could tell them what happened. And as soon as you start to mention anything like that, they will shut the call off, and then you get your phone privileges taken away for, you know, a day or a week or a month or for forever, depending on what you say. And you could write a letter, but they read your mail, and if you say something about anything, they'll stop all your mail from coming or going. Or you could try and tell someone if they came to visit you, but then they would have those people leave and escort it out, and then you wouldn't get visits anymore. The reason I know all of this is because it's not like I sat there quietly. I mean, I cried every day after I had my phone privileges and my visiting privileges and my mail taken away from me. Like, those are my books. Now my books can't even come anymore. So finally I got sent to like a guidance counselor, and it was this woman who was a huge fucking bitch. She told me that I had mental illnesses and that the trauma that I was experiencing was most likely a withdrawal from my medication, and that I needed to go back on the medication, and that's what she was going to recommend if I didn't like get better, basically. So she was telling me quite plainly that if I didn't shut up, I was going to stay. I was going to stay in Dwight. After I talked to her and she told me what was what, I made the conscious decision to play along. And now I'm like, okay, you've broke me. I'll do whatever I have to do to get out of this situation. So what do I have to do? So what I have to do now is I have to be quiet. I have to sit down. I have to shut up. I have to pretend like I like it. I have to pretend like I like it. I have to wait for my security clearance to come in. I have to get off all of these meds. I am fucking stuffing my face every day because I also have to self-harm, because we can't forget that. And I'm just waiting, like gritting my teeth, sobbing myself to sleep every single night, not sleeping. My hair is falling out and getting less cute by the minute. Less cute by the minute. That's working in my advantage. I'm still getting raped, but I'm pretending like I like it. I kiss them back. I say what they want to hear. I laugh at their dumb jokes. I pretend like it feels good. And then I get to leave. Then I get to leave and I get sent to minimum security prison. And this episode is like the episode I've been dreading talking about, but this is pretty much why this podcast exists. Now I'm having a purpose of like telling somebody this? Is there a purpose behind this? Hey, maybe stop raping all the women in prison. Hey, maybe just stop raping women in general. Hey, maybe just stop being shitty to women. Hey, just like treat us like people. What? Why isn't prostitution legal? You don't have to rape women if you can just like pay someone to get exactly what you want. Don't you think that's fucked up that like so many women are getting raped, but like women, we can't sell our bodies if we want to. If we want to have sex with you, but we want your money, we can't do that. But you know, you can rape us in prison though, and there's no consequence. There's no consequences. I don't fucking know any of their full names. I don't know any of their full names. There was no like report filed. There's no like evidence that I have that any of this happened other than I'm just fucking saying it right now. And am I the first one? There's got to be someone else who's been like, dude, do you know they're raping us in prison? But am I the first one to say it? I don't know. If there was someone else, can you please tell me about them or tell them about me? Am I the first one? Am I the first one to tell everyone that that's what happens? That's life, baby. Moving forward, what I would really like to say at the end of all of this is that I don't want this to turn into some pity party for me, because that's not what this is about, because I am the most fortunate person for this to ever happen to. I am like, fuck, I don't like this analogy, but I'm like, is this fucked up for me to say that I'm a princess and I was treated like a slave? And so the only advantage that I really have out of all of that happening is the fact that I get to go back to being a princess. And so now I'm a princess with a microphone in front of me, and I have the ability to say this to however many fucking people are going to hear this someday. And so now here I am sitting with my joint and my producer like a princess with a scarf around my neck, and I get to tell you the worst things ever. So if you listen to this and you like see me in the real world, don't make it weird. Don't make me feel weird about telling you this, because I feel weird and uncomfortable and embarrassed, and I wish that I didn't have to fucking do this. I hate it, and I just wish that I was like normal, and I wish that all of this didn't happen. I wish I could eternal sunshine, the spotless mind, all of this shit, you know? So don't hug me. Don't feel bad for me. Don't fucking like make a sad face or like really uncomfortable eye contact. Don't make me feel weird. Don't make me feel weird, but know that this happens. And it even happened to me, and it happens to everyone who's in that situation. If you care about this, if you're interested in this at all, I don't know, like hit me up and we can talk. Bon voyage. What the fuck?